What's up, everybody? Welcome to the very first episode of the Swing Point Podcast. I am your host, Dylan Ruley. I'm so excited for you guys. Today, we're going to be having on local Washington legend, number 4, the captain of Seattle Uprising, Nate Schroeder. Shout out to everybody who's going to be supporting me on the journey. Shout out to my editor, Ainsley. You know, we got it going on in here. So, we're going to go ahead and get Nate Schroeder in here right now. All right, so everybody, we're joined here with Nate Schroeder, captain of Seattle Uprising. Nate, tell me how everything's been, man. You just got done ninth place in Tampa. You know, talk to me about that. How was Tampa playing inside Raymond James Stadium? History breaking. So you got to talk to me about that, man. How was it?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Is this the first episode?
This is the pilot episode, episode 1, man.
Oh man, what an honor. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Um, yeah, Tampa was fun. Obviously it didn't do as well as we had wanted, but it was a cool experience being able to play in the stadium. Yeah, all in all, solid event. Hopefully we get more stadium events. It was a good good way to showcase the pro division. I think they did a good job with the setup and everything. And the one interesting thing about it that we didn't really anticipate was that they had the jumbotrons going during the game, so you could actually look up and see like where people were at. And so that was an interesting aspect that some people didn't like. I think it was overall positive though, just because it added a different element that people weren't used to. So I'm all for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely feel that, honestly though, to go where you guys were, obviously you guys are missing Alec Holland for the first event. You guys are having to rely on, a bunch of other core, so talk a little bit about that core of Seattle Uprising and, introduce the team a little bit.
For sure, yeah. So Uprising, the core is kind of what we all the kids that have been playing together since 2000, early 2000s. So it's myself, Alex Borromeo, Graham Arnold, Joel Eaton, um, Austin Woodward. There's Alec Holland. We've picked up a couple out of state people, Shane Howe, Jonah Rodriguez. And yeah, I mean, the team, we're solid. We've got, we were kind of this time last year, we were kind of scrambling for depth, kind of wondering where we'd be at. Um, but yeah, now we're in a good spot. We're feeling good, ready for Holly to come back and to, have a good season.
Yeah, I definitely think that, going into the season and everything, last season, Uprising really got put on the map. Not a whole lot of people would really, I don't think, talk about Uprising up until this last event. You guys come in, Tampa Bay Open 2025. You guys, your first full season coming back to Uprising. You guys take sixth, I believe, beating X Factor on Sunday and then losing to Fit, who then went on to win the event. You guys have another Sunday showing at Atlantic City, a rough showing at the Midwest Open. Everybody struggles. And then you guys come back and you guys make your first ever podium event in Texas, and then another strong outing at World Cup. So, I mean, just talk about that last season. What that meant for Uprising to get their first podium in the Pro Division, and and yeah, just talk me through that.
Yeah, I just, even though it's kind of my first full season back, it's felt like it's just been a long time coming for this group and myself particularly because, we've been a pro team for a long time. Uprising has, although I took a leave of absence there for a while, it just felt like when I came back, we were just picking up where we left off. So yeah, having that momentum coming out of 2024 and then into 2025, it was I think the huge, big, crucial moment in that season was that first Sunday when we knocked out X Factor because that put us into the tier two rankings. And so from there, we had more favorable draws, whereas the teams in the third, fourth, fifth tier, they're always having some tougher games and some easier games on paper. And so having a good showing on the first event kind of just set the pace, so to say, so to speak, for for the 2025 season. And yeah, we had some ups and downs. Definitely Cincinnati was a blemish that we probably, we had a really good opportunity to make it out of prelims, but just kind of squandered it. And coming back, being able to bounce back and getting that podium in Texas, that was, I think for most people, that's probably the highlight. Um, but yeah, it was just a solid season. Like I said, long time coming. The guys have been putting in a lot of work over the years, and it's just a matter of us kind of getting organized and finding out what our identity is and how we're going to execute, and just focusing on the small things that actually impact our performance, and not all the other stuff that I refer to as noise. Lots of noise going on in the camp when I came in, and so just trying to keep people focused and stay on the right path.
Yeah, I mean, you guys come in, have Tyler Machado as a coach. Jimmy Hickey takes ownership. Jimmy's an awesome owner, great dude. Tyler, paintball mastermind, paintball sensei, as Dusty Court likes to call him. And
Mhm.
and I can really see that you guys all kind of just absorb the knowledge. Like layout practice with you, I love just coming and watching you guys practice, right? Because it's so great just to watch the knowledge and everything. And I think that's like I don't think that's what a lot of people understand, right? Is that in the Pacific Northwest, because Uprising doesn't fly for layout weekends, right? You guys stay at DBS, our local field, Northwest Field of the Year, actually. So,
Mhm. Shout out.
I mean, yeah, shout out. So, I mean, just talk to me about that. What's it like to be playing against the divisional teams and everything on the layout weekends? Do you guys feel like that might, you guys aren't getting the best of reps with that, or do you guys think that it's just as good as like flying out for a practice?
Yeah. So that's been like a major point of discussion, since specifically since I came back, because kind of the reason why I decided to come back among many, but I just didn't have the capacity anymore to travel for layout weekends. And so when they announced that they weren't going to be traveling for that first event that I came back, I was like, okay, well, I can actually swing this, because now instead of me having to take off, a full infamous was needing you to take off the Friday of the layout weekend through the whole event. And so instead of me having to take off, 6 work days, it was only 2 for the event. So that's kind of where we decided that it was going to be, a local only structure for us when it comes to layout weekends. And like I said, there's trade-offs. Like not not having a 10 guys to play 5-on-5 can hurt, but we've kind of corrected that. We've brought people in that we've needed to, so we can play each other as much as possible, and kind of orchestrate or simulate the looks that we want. And I think that in itself is the biggest benefit that we would not get if we were playing another team. Sometimes when you travel for layout practices, if you fly into another team's home field, they might have already been playing on it for 2 days, and so that sucks, going in not seeing a field, and then them having 30, 40, maybe 50 reps on it, and then kind of just getting beat up for the first day. We're trying to figure out, is like, okay, do we just like mimic their play style, or we try to beat their play style? Then depending on who you're practicing, if they've also got a deep roster, then they're all fighting for play time, and so you don't get as honest looks as you were hoping for. I think being able to practice ourselves, not only ourselves actually, but also other teams out of DVS, is like, DVS is special because a lot of people, like, they'll go out on bounces, which you don't really get going other places. So getting that feedback is really really beneficial. So it's been a positive thing, and it's something that I think we're gonna continue to lean into as much as we can. Sometimes the first and last event, the weather is questionable. Um,
Definitely.
so we definitely played in 30-degree weather on Friday before Tampa, and dealing with snow and that kind of stuff. So it can be a struggle at times, but I think it's overall net positive. And yeah.
Yeah, so coming into I mean honestly, yeah, shout out, the Butchers, Lost Boys, PTN, all the divisional teams and premier teams out of WCPPL. Honestly, they're all great teams. They're all my friends. All the Uprising guys are my friends. So I definitely feel like the benefit is that you also get to help spread your guys' knowledge right down to them, and that's what helps them going into events, right? So, I definitely think that's like definitely one of the benefits of it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back a little bit. So starting off, I believe, so like let's talk about it. I know you said on to play the game, you got in playing a birthday party, but
Mm-hmm.
let's go a little bit more forward into that and talk to me about like DBS kids and everything like that growing up and then work to where you are now.
Yeah. So DBS Kids was kind of just a something that the field owner Dawn, which is Dusty and Danny's dad, he wanted to field a Young Guns team because Young Guns was a big thing back then where it was like 15 and under, and you can play all the local events and stuff. Um, so I tried out for that and made the team, even though I wasn't the best one there. It was they kind of just decided that I had a good attitude, and so yeah, DBS Kids formed, and we went to our first national event. It was kind of just like advertised that they were putting a Young Guns thing out, and I forget where I saw it. It must have been like PV Nation or something, and I just like printed it out and put it on Don's desk at the indoor, and he's like, actually, this is a pretty good idea. We could probably make it happen, and so yeah, we made it happen. Did the Young Guns thing. Played D4 with kind of the same core, and then it wasn't until D3 that we kind of combined with Danny's team, and that's when like the X ball was going on. So we were playing D3 X ball, which we had 2 lines and everything, and that's when it got really organized. Danny was kind of the mastermind behind like regular practices and all that good stuff. So yeah, it was really just kind of by happenstance that things just kind of lined up that DBS Kids was formed.
Yeah, I definitely like Danny Court, man, is one of my personal inspirations as well. I love the dude. He is one of the big reasons he actually helped me get my computer and everything to actually get this podcast. So
Awesome.
I was so excited about it. And I think that the biggest thing that I can definitely remember, like my first time, obviously, so you moved to Infamous and you were out for a little bit, correct me if I'm wrong, with injuries, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, talk to me about that move to Infamous and what kind of made you go that way, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, so at the time, I was playing for Uprising. I think we had finished our first pro season. Was it our first pro season? Oh man. No, I don't think so. Man, I can't remember now. Yeah, we had completed our first pro season, that's right. Um and yeah, money was just tight. My girlfriend at the time, now wife, was moving out, and it was like I needed to kind of decide, like, if I need to catch up on real life, start making some more money. And Infamous came at me with an offer that I just couldn't really refuse. And I've always I played on Vicious and Iron Man, and so I knew that I would do well in an environment where things were resources weren't an issue and I could just focus on playing. And I felt like it was a good opportunity. So yeah, never looked back. Don't regret the decision. Happy I made it. But I'm extra happy to be back with the guys on Uprising.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely feel like, all the Infamous guys are definitely cool and everything, but I've learned that there's nothing better than winning with your best friends, right? You
For
with all
sure.
your guys for so long. And I mean, there's nothing better than that.
Yep. Yep.
All
Yep. I
right.
grew up with these guys,
So
so
walk
it's
me through. Yeah, exactly. I think one of my favorite memories I have with like the Uprising guys is I'm at a rave and I'm hanging out with one of my friends and I see Alex and Dusty Court and they're just talking to me and they're like, and then Alex goes and Dusty's like, Dusty, is that D right there? And they come up and they're hyping me up to be a player that I'm not there yet, but they're hyping me up in front of my friends and everything. And I was just like, man, that's what friendship's all about right there.
For sure. For sure. I love that.
So yeah. So walk me through. So going into this, you guys got the Atlantic City Open coming up. I believe it's about 3 weeks away to layout drop. You guys are getting Alec Holland back, but I definitely think the bracket A got is the hardest bracket of that event, hands down. So, walk me through that. How are you feeling coming into Atlantic City with your full squad back?
I feel good, honestly. A draw to me is just a draw. You kind of want to play the good teams early. So this is, a chance for us to come out, make a statement early, and get that bye. I don't really, yeah, I don't know. I tell the guys a lot of time, like the paintball gods are on our side. So like, going into this first event, we had on paper, we had an easier draw and, we didn't have Holly. So the paintball gods were like, all right, I'll give you a little bit more of a layup going to this first event. And then now that we've got our full squad back, it's like, all right, we're really going to get tested. So I like it. I'm not mad about it. Yeah, it is what it is.
I mean, hey, confidence is key, my friend. I've learned that my whole life, especially being in the military and everything. I have learned that being in the military and all of these things that without confidence, you're not gonna believe in yourself. And if you can't believe in yourself, how can you go and perform the task at hand? And
Sure.
so, awesome, sweet. I got more minutes on this Zoom meeting. All right,
Nice.
excellent. My apologies there, guys. So, I mean, definitely, right? I mean, obviously, you guys know that everybody in Washington roots for you guys. So, I mean, we're all rooting for Uprising. I'm calling it this year. We're gonna see some crazy happen. I'm calling it now, right? So,
Nice.
ultimately, what's your goal? Like looking into the season, I know everybody has their goals. I hear it all the time. What's your goals coming into the season? Looking into the 2026 season?
Yeah, so our goal always is just, to win an event. That's kind of like the macro goal. And so we've got smaller, micro goals that we talk about regularly and talk about how we are trying to get to those. I think to be a little more specific, like, Champions Club is one thing that we realistically can get to and really need to, because at World Cup, if you mix Champions Club, you're already in the money. You could go over to Europe and play 3 events, and then you automatically get a spot at World Cup, and you're already taking home money, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, definitely, right?
So I think, yeah, Champions Club is definitely the big one that we've got our eye on. Smaller goals for us. We've been talking in the off season about just kind of upping our capacity, being able to get more looks on a layout weekend. We kind of get into this habit of talking a lot at layout weekend, which is great. Gets everybody thinking about like how we should be playing the field and that kind of stuff. But we're kind of limited in, unless we're really prescriptive on what looks we want to give when we're playing each other internally. um it's hard for us to get to all those situations because we've got to like talk it through, talk about like, all right, what happens if they make the snake, what happens if we can't make the snake, all of these things. And so my short-term goal is for us to shift that mindset from being super analytical in between points, taking 2 to 3 minutes to talk it through. Like, let's just crank out as many points as we can, watch the footage later, and talk it through. Like, we're going to get more experience playing off each other and understanding why the guys around us are making moves happen if we're seeing it over and over. Whereas if it happens once every 10 times and we talk about it for 10 minutes and then rinse and repeat, we're not getting as much value out of just keeping it running back as much as possible. So that's kind of our goal on the micro level in the short term. And then I think just having fun, always keeping it fun. That's what keeps us excuse me. That's what keeps it entertaining. Paintball's paintball. Layouts are different, but at the end of the day, it's all mental. And if you can take that fun component and make it at the forefront of your preparation, then I think you're gonna do a lot better.
Definitely. I definitely feel like I ran into those troubles. I went and played D5 at World Cup with Seattle Nomads, my whole team.
Mhm.
And I definitely feel like there was those troubles to the layout weekend, like trying to find out because that cup layout, there wasn't just one way to win.
Mhm.
I definitely think that there were multiple ways to win that field. And it was just hard trying to dissect, okay, well, what do we think is the best way to run that through, right? Like, what's the
Mhm.
best way to process in these different scenarios? And I think it did help. We scrimmed a Seattle Cartel, another great team out of Washington. And, as a D5 team, us scrimming a D2 team, D3 team, I definitely think that helped us kind of be like, okay, well, if we're making this against them, we can probably make this during the event,
Mhm.
right? So
Yep.
like going into a layout weekend as a divisional team is obviously might be a little different from the pros. What's your advice going into a layout weekend, right? For like as a younger team, not as much experience behind them.
Um, yeah, I think just one thing that teams probably could do a better job at is time boxing things. So like if you're gonna say, all right, we're gonna need to go to the field and do this like checklist of things like bounce shots, off the break shooting, low body situations, you know, 30-second points, all those things. Like, make sure you have like a set time that you want to move on to the next thing. Even regardless of where you're at, like leave time at the end to pick up where you left off. If you do have like, we haven't figured out our 30-second point stuff, we need to come back to it. Do that at the end of the day. Because I think a lot of teams they get caught up in like, the breakout shooting or the 30-second points, and then they just run out of time. Like there's been times even when I've been even on Uprising, it still happens to us. So I think a lot of teams can do a better job of just kind of structuring your practice and managing the time because you do have a finite amount of time when the layout comes out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely think that structure is one of the biggest things that can come to mind, right? With you
Mm,
guys, right? You guys have the boards, you guys have everything. And I think that all teams should utilize this stuff. It's
mhm,
almost as if I look at it as if, preparation prevents poor performance almost, right? The
mm,
four P's, right? The more
mhm,
prepared you are, the more the more you're gonna excel. And I mean that shows in anything, right?
mhm, for sure.
So I mean, you're coaching now. You coach a lot of divisional teams too. What's that like? What's that like trying to, give your knowledge to divisional teams? I know you're coaching a team at Ninja Ball this weekend and
Mhm.
everything. Talk me through that. What's that like and everything, coaching divisional teams? And what are the challenges that come with that?
Yeah, coaching's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. Not only do I enjoy it, but it's helped me understand how to be a better leader and kind of break down the sport and how I think about it. Kind of simplifying things and understanding, reading people, kind of figuring out where they're at in terms of their understanding and how I can kind of most effectively deliver kind of some of the fundamentals or the game theory. That's always a challenge, but it's also the most beneficial part because I get to work with all different types of people that have ranges of experience, and so it's really fun and really rewarding to see them come together. They're not professional obviously, but they take it pretty serious, not too serious, which is nice. So yeah, it's just all around. It's fun. I enjoy it, and it does help me as a captain of Uprising and a player. It really helps me kind of break down my thought process, not only on game theory, but just managing people's personalities.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Nate, I don't know if I'm the first one that's ever told you this, but hearing you talk paintball is pretty fucking cool, dude. Right? I love hearing your mind go to work and everything. And honestly, right, like me, I came onto the scene about almost 2 years now playing at DBS and everything. So I can definitely say that, just being around you guys and everything has really helped me grow. And I'm a different player. I got
Mm,
inspired because now I want to go pro. I've lost about 62 pounds coming into this off season.
hell yeah,
And so I'm
nice.
definitely I'm definitely excited about all that. And so I think that in like all things paintball, right? You've definitely got to have like the things that have shocked you. Like what's been like one of the most shocking things or like one of the most shocking moves that you've seen this so far in this off season?
In terms of like professional paintball,
Professional, yeah.
um, Shocking things or like things that have taken me back. I don't know, man. Nothing really shocks me anymore. I feel like
You've
I've
just
kind
been
of
doing it so
feel like
long.
I've just kind of seen it all, and it's just cyclical. Things, history is repeating itself. But yeah. Let me think. Let me think. I mean, they're playing around with the format, which is good. I think there's been a lot of talk about it, so it's good they're actually making moves towards something. Whether I agree with it or not, at least they're trying. Um, I think let's talk about like the 5 pod limit. That people will probably look at the numbers from Tampa and say like, oh yeah, more points were played, it's working. Like the five pods are working. And my counter argument to that is like it was actually a fast layout. So I don't know if you can equate, like I don't know if we had unlimited paint, if you would see, a drastic number of points played, less points played. I think it's just layout specific. So, and I think part of that also is, removing two of those big wedges. So I think there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts right now that are helping the sport, and I'm looking forward to seeing more data on like what's happening and how we can continue to make it a not such a slow game. Coming from my past experience with like playing CXBL, or was the original X ball. That was like the purest form of like competitive paintball that I experienced, and I think most people agree that was like the how it should be. And so when you try to when the league tries to accommodate 20 teams and not do split deck, then they've got to take away things that take away from the integrity of the sport, which that's probably my answer, is like the most shocking thing is that they're just kind of willing to do whatever to either continue to sell spots for tournaments, or make it more of a spectator sport. And I think I don't really agree with that. I think that if I'm Tom Cole and I'm the commissioner of the league or whatever his role is, and I go on a podcast and say like it's my job to grow a sport, it's like, well, then whose job is it to maintain the integrity of the sport? Because like you're gonna make rule changes last minute. You're gonna text us in the morning and say, hey, by the way, overtime and prelims is 3-on-3. It's like, who agreed to this, man? Like, yeah. So that's the most shocking thing, is just how much control they have over it. And it's not that they're not trying. It's just like if you're trying this hard to get all the teams aligned on where the sport should go, then maybe you need some help. Maybe you need to bring in some people with some experience, or maybe some new blood, just to kind of get people excited about it. Because I know for us, Uprising, we're not like one of the marquee teams. We're not, probably not in all the meetings that are being had with all the other team owners. And so for us, when like changes happen, we're just like, did we agree to this? Like, do we have any say? And so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of positive things going on, but at the same time, for me, the most shocking thing is like they can just tell us to jump, and we basically got to say how high.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say I wasn't the biggest fan of the 3v3, right? I think the 5v5 overtime, right, is
Hmm.
way better. But I mean, do you like the way the format is right now with split deck, or what would you prefer? If you could have like your dream, Nate's dream idea of what the
Yeah.
true layout format would be, what would it be?
I would. I actually don't mind split deck. I just think yeah, I actually don't mind split deck. It's just it's kind of a bummer when the game slows down. So I do think they needed to incentivize, scoring more points for sure. But that just it gets a little weird when you don't get to play every team. Like there's other teams in other brackets that are playing, on paper weaker teams, so they could run up the score with more ease than other teams. So yeah, I think my dream format would be some form of X ball where points are played quickly, and if if they keep doing a good job with the layouts where they're fast, then split deck's really not an issue. It's when you get down into those, those Dallas of last year type layouts where the points are really slow, and then one team's getting thrown into X ball, and it's hard to watch because teams like us will be burning the clock and stuff. So I don't think split deck's necessarily bad. Maybe from a competitive competitor standpoint, like participating, I don't think split deck is bad, but I can see how from a spectator sport. But I think my hot take. Sorry, I'm just gonna come out with you hot takes now. My hot take is the webcast shouldn't be live streamed. I think it should be post production. Like if you really want to build a story, let's use all of our resources to like make like a really solid recap video, and fill that time in between points with highlights and clips. And we saw like in the ESPN 3-man where like there's hardly any time between points, and the production, they couldn't even get replays going quick enough. And so I think if you are doing a webcast, you have to put a lot of time and energy into making sure that it's running for all 8 hours, and it might not be the most spectator friendly format or medium, and so making a shift towards
Oh,
post production would probably be all
there we go.
right.
There we go. Anyway, continue with what you were saying.
Yeah, so I don't think I have like a ideal format. I just think if you got rules in place that everyone agrees in, everyone's excited about, you do a good job with the layout, then you're gonna have a not only a fun sport to play, but also more attractive sport to market. And so that's
Yeah.
that's kind of my thing.
Yeah. And honestly, I was a little mad about, the Dallas layout or the Lone Star Open layout was extremely slow.
Mhm.
But, how are you going to get mad at teams for, playing the clock and playing to their advantage? Like, if a team's
Mhm.
gonna try, a team would rather win 2-0 than a 2-1, right? Because margin's everything,
Yeah.
right? And 2-0 definitely looks better than 2-1. So like I didn't understand all the hate because they were playing smart, that's why they played it slow. Like don't build a slow layout then if you're gonna blame
Yeah.
the way that people are playing the layout. That was just all nonsense to me, to be honest. I
Yeah.
definitely think that and like the Midwest Open layout too, that was another really slow layout.
Hmm.
But I guarantee you, if we would have put unlimited paint in this layout, we still probably would have seen more points scored.
Yeah, I think so too. Layout dependent for sure.
Yeah, I definitely. How do you feel about the 5 pod rule, though? Do you?
I mean, I think I like it just because it's easier to manage, like on a pit standpoint. Obviously we don't have an unlimited budget like a lot of teams, so it makes it easier for us going into layout weekends. And yeah, I have nothing against it. I don't know if it's doing a lot, but yeah, seems good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how that would work if they let divisional teams do that. Like if D5 could only or D4 could only have
It would
four
just
5 pod.
raise the price of paint, probably.
Exactly. Most definitely. Paint would be outrageous. Come to the
Yeah.
field. All right, we're drilling $70 a case, boys. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah, or at events. That's all they care about, right? Sell paint at events, so that I can see, all right, if you're gonna carry 5 pods instead of 8, paint's gonna be 20-30% more.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So I think everybody kind of has their mentors in the game, right?
Mhm.
Everybody growing up, who would you say your mentors were growing up into the game to make you the player you are now?
Yeah, so early on, definitely Danny was a big one, and then everybody that he ran with, we used to practice them, and so his team was, always beating us up, but also giving us tips and stuff. And so Danny has always been a mentor. Um, Chris Wilson, he was playing on Bob's team when I was coming up, and we'd, have private practices with him pretty regularly. Ryan Muir, Chub Chub, he also got picked up by Oakland Assassins at one point. And then Tyler kind of came into the picture a little bit later. So he's always been a mentor. He's always been a valuable resource and good friend. Um, Todd Martinez, he coached me on Vicious. Travis was huge, helping me, understand the nuance of competitive or professional paintball. And he's the one that really opened me up into like eyes into open like game planning and like um calling plays based on what he thinks the other team was going to do. And so that was a big one for me. It took a lot from him. Yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch more out there that I haven't named, but those are the
Yeah.
ones that come to mind.
I mean, I think definitely. I think everybody you can get everything from everybody, and that's something I've learned not just in paintball but everywhere. Like, I can learn from a guy who's lower than me about maybe he's doing something that I never even thought that could work, and it works.
Hmm.
And I mean, I think that that's something that everybody takes for granted. But
Hmm.
I mean, so obviously not a lot of people know about paintball in the Pacific Northwest, which is the main reason I started this podcast because I want everybody to know that we are a thing up here, right? That there is paintball. What would you say paintball in the Northwest means to you? What does it stand for to you being a Pacific Northwest icon in the
Um,
paintball community?
I don't know if I'm an icon.
You go to man. You got to give yourself some credit there, man.
So yeah, I think Northwest paintball is special for many reasons, and I kind of talked about it earlier. Like at DBS, like people will go out on bounces, like that is unheard of. Other places. I've been to a lot of fields and played. Granted, it's been kind of a smaller, isolated thing with just other pros, but like other fields, like as soon as a point is over, people just like take off their masks and like start talking, and it's like mind blowing. So I think one thing that the Northwest has for us is like just strong culture and like just integrity. It's everyone's so supportive. Like there's rarely ever beef at the field. Like it's crazy. We've got like such a nice like little oasis of paintball where people drive from Canada every weekend because they can't get the same experience elsewhere. And so yeah, it feels like home. It doesn't, there's you see like lots of familiar faces, but seeing like new faces and seeing how welcome they are. And there's teams that we sign up for matches for Sunday Fun Day, and you're kind of set in who you play, and you've got limited time. But even when new people come out, like somebody always throws them under their wing and gives them reps and stuff. And so I just think it's really special how welcoming we are as a community, and for us to kind of continue to grow with all the challenges that we've had over the years with like COVID and cost of living in Seattle, just the Seattle area, I should say. It's really refreshing to see people at the field every weekend having fun, and people coming back from when they used to play. Life happens and they got to take a break and they still come back. And so yeah, it's just Northwest paintball is unlike anything else, and happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely one of the people that I look forward to seeing at the field, right? Just because I know that if I ever needed to ask you a question, I could go and ask you, right? And you'd be more than happy to help. And you've battled a lot of adversity through your paintball career, right? Would you mind kind of walking me through that with your injuries and everything and what made you want to work harder and bounce back from that, if you don't mind me asking there?
Yeah, for sure. So I jammed up my shoulder real bad and separated it. And went through three shoulder surgeries to finally get it fixed. So that took me out. It's kind of just like a 3-year ordeal where I'd get a surgery, rehab for 9 months to a year, then do my best to get back out there. And the whole time I like kept telling myself, I was like, all right, if this time I come back and I'm not better than I was the last time when I got hurt, then I'm just gonna call it. Like at some point, enough's enough. And just kept on playing well and kept on playing better and proving to myself like, yeah, I can be out of commission for months at a time and not touch a paintball gun for 4 to 5 months, 6 months, and still come back and be competitive. And so that was like kind of just the deal I made with myself, and it worked out. So I'm just fortunate that it all worked out, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But if you do find yourself in that situation, just yeah, trust your gut, trust your instinct, or whatever it is you call your psyche, and stick with it.
Nah, that's awesome. Like, because I know I can definitely imagine that it wasn't easy. And like you said, right, you thought about giving up, right? But he didn't. And now look where you are, man. You're making an impact on everybody at the in the Pacific Northwest, right? At DBS, anywhere in the Pacific Northwest, if they know paintball, right, I'm sure they've heard of Nasty Nate. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Um, so walk me through almost. Like obviously you have to have like your favorite paintball memories. What was like some of your favorite memories from last season?
Um, Favorite memories from last season. Yeah, probably. I mean, beating Infamous in Tampa was probably my highlight, just
Give him the
because.
belt.
Yeah, yeah. I don't often get to shoot all five guys, but when it happens in an overtime point against my old team, I think that's got to go up there as the highlight. Yeah, I mean, just the season as a whole was just felt like a highlight because we were just having so much fun the whole time, and it went by so fast, and we grew so much, and it didn't end how we wanted it to, but I think that's just because we weren't ready. But now we have a better idea of what we need to do this season so that we will be ready when we're in that position. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for where it's gonna go, right? The only way I think for you guys is gonna be up. Um, Nate, I just want to say thank you, man, for the time on the podcast. I want to
For
say
sure.
thank you for being my host on my episode one. And I'm gonna end it out with this last closing question before I let you go here.
Okay.
But what do you look for in a divisional player to grow into the ranks? What separates divisional players from other divisional players?
um Good question. I think field awareness, I think, is the most important, the thing that I notice the most, but not necessarily the thing that I look for and say like, "Ooh, that kid's gonna be good," because field awareness comes over time, and so if people are making the right moves and have good timing, then it's a sign that they do have like good, like they've had experience and they've been playing divisional probably for a while. Very rarely do you see like a newcomer come out and like you know make huge moves because he just knew no one was on him, or like he's got the spidey sense that somebody's crawling down the tape when he's in the snake and stuff like that. Like that's pretty rare. But if you see somebody that's like making all the right decisions and stuff, that's the biggest thing. You can tell that they've got the experience. So I think if we're talking about like what characteristics do divisional players that don't have as much experience, what are they showing that like gets me excited about their trajectory? I think it's just being a good teammate, be understanding like what your role is and how you can help others be successful. Because I think a lot of people get so caught up in like, oh, like I need to like go win the game from the snake. It's like sometimes your job is just to get in the snake so that you can draw two or three guns so that something can happen on the other side of the field. And not a lot of divisional teams are thinking like that. I think they're just thinking like my job is to be productive, or um, communicate more, or that kind of thing. And they forget about that it's a team sport and there's a bigger aspect. So if you see people, if you see like a divisional player, less experienced player walk off the field and ask like, hey, like there was three guns on me, like what was going on over there, then like that like cues me into like, okay, they've taken a step back and understanding that the game's just the point itself is just bigger than how they can contribute. It's what the team needs to do to win. So I think that's the biggest thing that really gets me excited about fresh young talent.
Yes, I mean, definitely. I think that's definitely something I've learned from you when we've had our conversations too. But anyway, thank you so much, Nate, for coming on the first episode. Is there any shout outs or anything you want to shout out real quick before you head out?
Yeah, I mean, shout out you for putting this on, and I'm sure it's not easy, maybe stepping out of your comfort zone a little bit to interview people. I'm honored to be your first guest. I gas you up a little bit as we go. I think when I first met you, at my reaction, as is with a lot of new faces, it's like nice. Like here's a kid that I'm gonna be saying hi to every weekend and like making time for because he seems like a genuine kid. And I think now that I've gotten to know you, like you're a very authentic person. It's really nice having you in the community. And I think when I really not change my mind, but like when you really won me over was we decided last season that we were gonna do burpees between points. And so we were doing burpees while we were waiting for the next point to start. And somebody goes like next weekend, somebody goes like, "Hey, you see that over there? D's over there doing burpees between his points." We're like, "No fucking way." We're like,
Yeah.
this guy is not only just like, yeah. And one thing, I will say, I don't want to like eat my tongue or whatever you call it. On people coming up and taking time to say what's up. Like I do appreciate that, but what one point you you said like, "Hey man, I don't want to get in your way. I know you guys are like preparing." And it's like, dude, if you have like the awareness to know like I could be overstepping my boundaries, and like for me that goes a long way. So I just want to say like it's really cool for you to do this podcast thing. I think there's nobody better in the scene right now that could really thrive at this and tell the story of Northwest Paintball. So thank you for putting the extra effort. Thank you for coming and flagging us Uprising guys down and telling us how much we're supported. It means a lot.
We're all here for you, man. Thank you so much, Nate. You have a great night. I will see you Saturday morning, bright and early.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
All right,
Later,
later,
man.
man.
Peace.
Peace. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the first episode of Swing the Point podcast. I am your host, Dylan Ruley. I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the Pacific Northwest paintball community. Shout out all the homies. Shout out DBS. Shout out Danny. Shout out everybody. Thank you guys so much. Let's blow this show up so we can put paintball in the Pacific Northwest on the map. Thank you guys, and on to the next one.